Hi guys, it's Allie, and today we're going to be going over all of the crazy roster moves that have been happening this offseason. It has been a bit full of drama and a little bit spicy, and I'm here to break it down with my duo, Nameless. How are you doing, Ant?
I'm doing great. I mean, the last video we did on the LA Thieves, it was a lot of fun. But now it's time to talk about these rosters. RosterMANIA a couple weeks ago was absolutely insane, but now the dust has settled a little bit. We got some confirmed rosters and we got to put our thoughts out there in the universe. So let's get into it and talk about some of these teams.
Right there with you, Ant. I mean, we've been through a roller coaster already. Let's dive right into the new rosters heading into the Modern Warfare 2 season. Speaking of initial roller coasters, we have to talk about Optic Texas. We thought we were saying goodbye to Dashy and Illy. Was it a bait? Was it real? Will we ever actually know? And I just love the fact that they were like, haha, lol, JK, like dipping their toes into the water of that roster change.
Listen, we can make an educated guess. There was something happening in the Optic Texas camp. And first off, I got to say, Optic, you pissed all of us off, all right? Listen, you trolled all of us. We thought there was going to be a change there. The rumors were strong. We had players, teams, other organizations waiting to make their changes or to entertain certain players based on what Optic Texas was doing. So this was a crazy part in RosterMANIA. I don't think we've ever had a moment like this in prior years, like one of the best teams, and it being Optic Texas, who is known to be very strict with who they acquire to their team, rumored to get rid of one of their star up-and-coming players. Like Dashy's still a very young talent. He was rumored to be let go, and then Illy as well, who was their Lord and Savior. They needed him to come back and they had the big turnaround. So with Optic Texas, I believe that they did entertain it for a little bit, Allie. Like they were looking at different options, but I think the players came to an agreement, like, let's run it back one more time. There was so much potential in this team throughout the season. I mean, they won the first event. They had a lot of circumstances that held them back throughout the season with Illy's injury. And the players, they realized, like, we did not hit our full potential. So I think that that's wonderful for these guys to realize that and to keep this same team, especially with Scump on the tail end of his career. That means he truly believes in these guys, because if he wanted, he can go out there and get anybody. Optic has that power. One of the few teams that can really go out there and just take your teammate, and they will leave. Even if their team they think is currently stronger than Optic, most players will leave for that opportunity.
Dashy was kind of like the first domino to fall when it came to RosterMANIA. Dashy was a player that was argued for MVP all year. Could you even begin to imagine the chaos that ensued in every single franchise organization's camp when that happened?
I'm sure a lot of players were messaging their organization like, yo, pick this guy up, pick this guy up. I was shocked as hell when it happened. And he's definitely a player that warrants that type of reaction, right? Like he is a young player. He's extremely dominant when it comes to like slaying in games, and he still is getting better and like learning. And also he's liked by a lot of the player base that we have, with a big fan base as well. So more than Dashy sort of being rumored on the market that set the community ablaze in these organizations was like, now who is Optic gonna go and get? Like, you need to know what Optic's gonna do first, because if you're a big time player who even has a smidge of opportunity to join Optic, like you're gonna pause everything until they figure out their roster.
And I mean, Optic Texas was one of the only teams I didn't expect to make a roster change heading into the Modern Warfare 2 season. So even though they technically didn't, I'm almost a little bit worried that the conversation was even entertained to the point of, you know, tweets being made and rumors that spread to other teams and possibly affected their changes as well. One of those teams being the Atlanta FaZe. We now lose Arcides, the main AR of one of the best rosters we have seen in Call of Duty. And it's been surprising for everybody. There's the rumors of, oh, well, you know, do you think it's because they thought they were getting Dashy? Was it something they talked about way before that was even a conversation starter? Like, how big is this impact of losing Arcides?
Well, it's a pretty big impact, but they got a good guy there. But before we get into it, let's talk about Atlanta FaZe a little bit with this change, because I've seen a lot of people talking about it on Reddit, on Twitter, on social media, saying like they shouldn't have done it, this and that. One, who are you guys to question Atlanta FaZe? They've made changes like this before. Looking at the Modern Warfare season, they had an incredible year. Like, these guys won multiple events, got second at the World Championship. They looked unbelievable. By all means, a better year than they had this year. And they still made changes going into the next year year. And what happened? They dominated. They won everything, right? So this is a team, like when they know there's an issue, they make a change. With Aristides, they brought him in to be that leader, right? To develop these guys, to get them on point. He did that. These guys are now veterans, the rest of the guys on this team. I mean, Simp, Celium, and Abizi, they've all been playing for a very long time. They have more experience in championship games than, 99% of the player base that we have in the CDL. So these guys, they have that experience, and they're bringing in another experienced player in Slasher. I mean, Allie, looking at Slasher season, he has a championship. He's no slouch. He's been there on the biggest stage in the biggest moments. He's proven that he's consistent and can still pop off and take over respawn games with his turnaround mid-season. And then also he was second overall when it comes to search and destroy on the entire year. What was the problem with Atlanta FaZe this year? It was their search and destroy. So bringing in a guy like Slasher, who has always been a great search player, but has seemingly ascended to another level, especially with the in-game leadership that he brought to LAG, like, I think it's a win-win scenario for these guys. Obviously, it's tough to lose the glue that you had in Aristides, but there were rumors that, there was turmoil with Aristides and his approach to the game throughout this season. So I think the most important thing for Atlanta FaZe is just believing in your team, believing in your teammate, and everybody being on the same page. And Slasher getting this opportunity, he's going to put in the most work. We know how hard of a worker that this guy is, and I think he's going to bring a lot to Atlanta FaZe.
Yeah, personally, I think, Slasher being brought in place of Aristides, it almost feels like just the same player in different fonts. I don't expect Atlanta FaZe to have a complete overnight change, but maybe it will give them that edge that they have been missing this past season. But now we have to talk about where Aristides even went. Well, he went over to the LAG camp, which definitely caught me out of left field, to join the likes of Spark, Neptune, and Hook, who are the core three that are going to be staying onto that roster. And I don't know if I like this move. I don't know if I like this roster, especially in the fact that Spart and Aristides signed 3-year contracts with this LAG squad. Do you think they're going to find a lot of success in this upcoming season?
I love this move. I'm gonna be honest.
Really? Wow.
I love the first half of the move. Like when you say Spartan Aristides for 3 years, that is a very good idea out of them. I mean, Spart is great. He showed it. He had a great performance. He's a good search player. He works hard. He was an MVP. Got them a championship. And then Aristides, like, if LAG's plan is to have young talent, develop them, scout through challengers as the years go on, like having the core of Aristides and Spart is a very good place to start. I mean, you have a great main AR who is proven to be a world champion, who can teach young guys. And then you have Spart, who's up and coming, and he's a great flex player. He can do it all. He's good at all 3 game modes. So that's a very good place to start. I think Neptune and Hook, good double SMG duo if they can learn from a player like Aristides. I mean, on paper, they have a good dynamic here. The roster, in terms of like comparing them to the other rosters in the league, like they don't look as championship ready, but they're definitely going to be very competitive. I mean, you have so much talent on this team. It'll just be like they're investing a lot into Aristides, right? Like they have him for 3 years. They're hoping that he can get these guys on par and get them to championship levels. So I think for the cards that LAG was dealt, like they made it out pretty well. For Aristides' resume versus Slashers over the last couple of years, like Aristides should be considered a better player. So I think LAG is looking at this and they're pretty happy with what they got.
And you know what? Neptune and Hook really surprised me as a duo near the tail end of the season. So with Vanguard coming to a close and Modern Warfare 2 up and coming, I definitely have high hopes for the squad. Is it my favorite roster on paper? Not really, but honestly, with the words from Ant, I'm going to be a little bit more hopeful heading into it. But now we need to talk about my personal favorite roster that has come out so far is the Minnesota Rocker. Cammy and Vance are sticking together. And honestly, I'm going to make the joke that this might be the new EU team, even though it is going to be a Minnesota Rocker heading into this upcoming season, because they're also going to be joined by Afro Ant, and I can't explain how much I love this roster.
Oh man, Allie, I don't want to be contrarian to you, but I gotta say I don't love this team. I don't love it. I just have some issues with it. I think these are very, very established players. I mean, you look at Cammy, Vance, and Attach. Afro's still on the come up. He had some problems on LAN. I mean, there's no way around it. The guy's performance was nowhere near the same as it was online, and he has the weight of the world on his shoulders on this team.
I'm kind of surprised about Afro. Like I said, I love the lineup, but where did Afro kind of come from? I'm a bit surprised that he left London. A little bit of turbulence in their camp throughout the season with the whole Gizmo not being plugged into the roster. Do you have any insight of what you think why he might have left?
Listen, all right, I'm standalone in this. I can speak my mind. Honestly, I think Afro got got a little bit blessed. I'm a big fan of Afro. I think he's an electrifying player, but they threw the bag, man. Like, I mean, the rumors that I've heard from this camp is that they spent a lot of money on their roster. They built a roster they believe can win championships, and on paper, they could theoretically. And so Afro got a big opportunity to play with some veterans who have won championships before and recently as well, to develop. So I think it's just the next move for him, and it's not like he's too far from his roots. Like, he's still playing with some of probably his biggest idols when it comes to European Call of Duty. He's got Cammy and Bance, so it's just the next step for him. I think if there was a team that he was going to leave London for, it would be these guys. I mean, looking at Cammy, Bance, and Attach, like, they're not the lightning fast players that we have. And you think about Infinity Ward games, you think about Modern Warfare games, they're typically extremely quick. They're fast. Last Modern Warfare was a very fast game, and Afro is gonna have to be a speed demon on this team. I mean, you look at Cammy and Bance, they're used to having a guy like Kleenex, a guy who's first in, first out, getting that first kill, very reliable as well. Like, for Afro, he's gonna have to get comfortable. I mean, that's my one big worry. And then also with the Attach and Cammy dynamic, both of them are sort of like flex players to me. I know Attach moved into the main AR role this year, but he's still sort of like a flex player to me in the way that he runs that role. So I think they'll be solid. They're gonna be great at search and destroy, but I don't think instantly this is a team that's like competing for a championship. That's just my take on it. I think comparative to some of these rosters that we have in our league, they're not gonna have a good time when it comes to respawn.
You know what? I'm on the totally opposite end of that. Like I said, I love this roster and I'm excited for what they're capable of doing. And with the fact that Attach is now officially moved into that main AR role and seeing the roster ahead of him, I will have to agree with you with the sake of pacing and the sake of the speed of this team. But I will also say I can't wait to see Attach's comms by the end of the year. Do you think he's going to have a British accent? Because I think he's going to have an accent by the end of the year, listening to these three in his ears throughout the entire Modern Warfare 2 season.
Listen, he might. Right? Like, we never know. And that's another good topic to bring up, as like the culture of the team. Like, these guys are coming from full European rosters. Also, like, when you look at Cammy and Bance, the culture of the Toronto Ultra was very much like calm, cool, and collected. They're accepting of like winning their search and destroys, being a 2-3-5 demon squad. It's a big difference for this Minnesota Rocker team, and especially for Attach. So he's definitely gonna have to get comfortable with this team. And then also, like, who's the leader? Like, Attach is usually leader of his team. Is it going to be Bance? Is it going to be a collaborative effort? I think that it's going to be some tug and pull, especially with the coaching staff. Like, even that coming into this is going to be interesting. So a lot of questions, definitely a very high ceiling for this roster, and we'll see.
Fair enough. And now we need to talk about where Bance and Cammy left. The Toronto Ultra. I'm a bit surprised that they made a change. We were used to this roster having the same faces for a couple of years now, but I don't think we are surprised in the fact that Scrappy has been brought onto the main roster, the most hyped up rookie this past year in Vanguard. And when he was brought up as a sub, he was even topping the leaderboards without being in through the full season. So, and high expectations for him. Do you think he will perform heading into the Modern Warfare 2 season?
First off, Allie, I gotta ask you, do you like this team?
No.
Why not? I think it's a great roster. Like, all right, so let me tell you why I like this team. I think Standy, first half of the season, one of the best search and destroy players that we had. I think he had a little bit of a down season comparative to, the year prior, but he's still a great player. And then you pair him up with a guy like Kleenex. That is a very dynamic SMG duo. Probably a little bit too quick, but what I mentioned earlier is MW games are really fast. So, kind of banking on the meta when it comes to this one, but then also Scrappy. Listen, Toronto was in a very good spot headed into this season. Like, having the underwhelming performance that they had, especially when it comes to the respawns for this Toronto Ultra team, having that insurance policy on your bench, it just made sense. And you're looking at this roster and you're like, okay, the previous Toronto team, you're like, we had problems this year. We are gonna put Scrappy in. So what do we do? Okay, we're not gonna get rid of Jamie Insight because it's very hard to come by a very good main AR who is also a great search and destroy player. So he's like the lock there. And it's like, okay, what role does Scrappy run? It was like they had to decide between Insight and Cammy, and unfortunately, Cammy has to go, so Scrappy gets put on the team. And then with Kleenex, what else is very hard to come by? An aggressive SMG who can do it on land under pressure, that plays at that pace. Kleenex is one of a very few that can play at that pace. So you're not going to get rid of him. And then you got to go out there and you got to keep the team culture as well when it comes to search and destroy. So they pick up a great search and destroy player in Standy. The only thing they'll have to figure out is going to be the pace between Standy and Kleenex. Who is going to be that dirty work player? Who is going to be hitting those routes, playing a little bit slower when they need to, because that is something they had in Bance. Like, he was that playmaker when it came to those swing moments in the games. Now, I think this team will fare way better in respawn than a Toronto Ultra has ever had in a roster. You have a lot of big slayers on this team. It's going to open up the map for a guy like Scrappy, especially with the speed that Standy and Kleenex will play at. So I have high hopes. I think Toronto Ultra did a great job, and mainly due to them having the insurance policy of Scrappy on their bench.
You know what? I am one of those people that 100% wanted to see Scrappy in the league, and I am over the moon. The fact that he's now being brought up and what he's going to bring to the Modern Warfare 2 season. Is this the squad I expected him to be on, this lineup? Not exactly. Is it a top 4 team? Absolutely. The ceiling is absolutely there. For me, it's just about the team chemistry. There's just something weird about this lineup for players that doesn't sit right for me. They're all very, very talented, and will they mesh well? Well, obviously, we will be finding out in the upcoming season, but it is a very young team, and we also had a young team this past year in the Seattle Surge. Do you think that is going to be the Toronto Ultra will be getting the upcoming season?
I mean, possibly, right? Like, it's a different dynamic over there. I think I think this team's going to be disgusting. Honestly, I think this Toronto Ultra team is going to be gross. I think they're going to prove it off rip. Scrappy, he's one of those guys, man. Like, he has his name, like, he has the right name for his personality. Yeah, he's got that dog in him. Like, he talks trash, but he really backs it up. Like, there's been some, challengers players, some amateur players, I'm like, that guy's a beast. But with Scrappy, I know that he is going to be disgusting, because we've seen it. Like, to talk that much trash, still win out in challengers, go in and dominate, and then come into a pro match, like, as a substitute and take over that game as well. Like, this guy's a beast.
And I have to say, like, how insane it would be if Scrappy got up and yelled versus Simp and Abeezy at the beginning of the Modern Warfare 2 season.
Listen, fans would probably love that. I mean, looking at Scrappy, he's already got a lot of fans, and also, like, some CDL pros are big fans of him as well. But that would just be wild. Like, guy comes out of challengers, joins Toronto Ultra, and just starts frying Atlanta FaZe, talking trash. Like, they would not like that. But, like, also keep in mind, Standy was talking a ton of trash in this season. Like, the guy was standing up and screaming, so they might be a tandem. Like, I think they're just gonna, like, fuel each other, get so hyped. Like, people are gonna hate playing against them, especially if they're beating you in respawns, like getting up and screaming at you after map 1. Like, it's just no fun, especially if Scrappy's backing it up. But I think he's gonna trash talk everybody, Allie. Honestly, I think this guy has a chip on his shoulder.
Tomorrow we were talking, you're gonna go up against Capsule and TJ and Methods. You know all those guys. Are you excited for that match?
Of course. I can't wait to play Tej. Respectfully, guys trash, but we're gonna see. We will see.
Sort of like what we saw at Adraza. Like, if you let this guy win, he is going to roast you. I mean, he was doing it in challengers. He was doing it to everybody. Like, ex-pros that were going down into challengers, like, he was letting you hear it. So it's only going to be magnified when we get to the pro level.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today to break down some of the new rosters heading into the Modern Warfare 2 season. Make sure to let us know in the comments below how excited you are for the upcoming season and what you think of these rosters. And thank you so much for joining me. There is still so many rosters to talk about, and I cannot wait to see what pieces Las Vegas managed to pick up. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time.